Ever wondered what it takes to sponsor someone to come to Canada? Well, you're in the right place to find out. Welcome to our discussion on Canadian sponsorship undertaking. This is a crucial part of the Canadian immigration system, and understanding it is vital for anyone looking to sponsor a loved one or family member to immigrate to Canada. In essence, a sponsorship undertaking is a commitment. It's a promise that you, as a sponsor, make to the Canadian government. You're essentially agreeing to provide financial support to the person you're sponsoring, ensuring their basic needs are met for a certain period of time. This includes food, clothing, shelter, and other essentials. It's a significant responsibility, and it's not something to be taken lightly. The purpose of this undertaking? It's to ensure that the person being sponsored does not become a financial burden on Canadian society. Now that you have a basic understanding of what Canadian sponsorship undertaking is, let's delve into the step-by-step process. Before we begin, who can actually sponsor someone to come to Canada? Well, it's not as simple as just wanting to do so. There are certain eligibility criteria that you must meet to be able to sponsor someone. Firstly, age is an important factor. You must be at least 18 years old to be a sponsor. This is because the law recognizes you as an adult who is capable of taking on such a responsibility. Secondly, financial stability is a crucial requirement. Sponsoring someone to come to Canada is a significant undertaking. It means that you are willing and able to provide financial support for the individual you are sponsoring, ensuring they do not need to seek social assistance. Next, let's talk about residency status. To be eligible to sponsor, you must be a Canadian citizen, a person registered in Canada as an Indian under the Canadian Indian Act, or a permanent resident living in Canada. If you are a Canadian citizen living abroad, you may still sponsor, provided you intend to live in Canada when the sponsored individual becomes a permanent resident. Another key condition is that you cannot be in prison, bankrupt, under a removal order if you're a permanent resident, or charged with certain serious offenses. These conditions are in place to ensure the safety and well-being of the individual being sponsored. There are also other necessary conditions that you must meet, such as not having defaulted on a previous sponsorship undertaking or any immigration loan or alimony payments. You must also not have received government financial assistance for reasons other than a disability. It's important to note that these are general criteria, and certain types of sponsorship might have additional requirements. Now, what could disqualify you as a sponsor? Well, failure to meet any of the above conditions could lead to disqualification. Also, if you have been sponsored to come to Canada in the past, and it's been less than 5 years since you became a permanent resident, you cannot become a sponsor. Understanding eligibility is the first step. If you meet these criteria, you're on your way to becoming a sponsor. Now that we know who can sponsor, let's move on to the application process. The journey to sponsorship begins with gathering all the necessary documents. This is a crucial step, and it's important to take your time and ensure that you have everything you need. This could include financial statements, proof of identity, and any other documents that prove your eligibility to sponsor. Remember, accuracy is paramount. You don't want your application to be denied because of a simple mistake or oversight. Once you have all your documents in order, it's time to move on to the application forms. These can be found online, and it's important to read through them carefully. They may seem complicated at first, but don't worry. Take a deep breath and take it one step at a time. Again, accuracy is key. Make sure you fill out every field and don't leave anything blank. If you're unsure about a particular section, don't hesitate to seek help. There are plenty of resources out there to guide you through the process. Next up is paying the application fees. These fees vary, so it's important to check the current rates before you submit your payment. This can also be done online, and it's a simple and straightforward process. Just make sure you have your credit or debit card handy. And finally, it's time to submit your application. This is the moment you've been working towards. Make sure you've checked and double-checked everything, and then hit that submit button. It's a good idea to keep a copy of your application for your own records. You never know when you might need to refer back to it. But remember, the journey doesn't end here. Once submitted, your application will be reviewed, and you may also be called for an interview. So keep your phone close by and your email inbox open. You've taken a huge step towards sponsorship, and you should be proud. Good luck. So what happens after your sponsorship application gets approved? Well, once the green light flashes on your application, it's time to put on your responsibility hat. As a sponsor, you are now bound by an agreement that you'll financially support the person you're sponsoring. You'll need to make sure they're not just surviving, but thriving in this new chapter of their life. The undertaking period, the time you're responsible for the person you're sponsoring, varies. For a spouse, common law partner, or dependent child, it's 3 years. For a parent or grandparent, it's 20 years. But what if you don't meet these responsibilities? Well, there could be severe consequences. You may have to repay any social assistance your sponsored person received during the undertaking period. You could also be barred from future sponsorships. Remember, sponsorship is not just about bringing someone to Canada, it's also about taking responsibility for their well-being. Let's recap what we've learned today about Canadian sponsorship undertaking. We dived into the eligibility criteria, outlining the necessary requirements for sponsorship. We discovered that the process involves being a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, having financial stability, and being willing to provide for the sponsored individual's basic needs. Next, we navigated the application process. We learned that it's a systematic journey that requires attention to detail and patience. From filling out the necessary forms to submitting them and awaiting a decision, every step is crucial. Lastly, we talked about the responsibilities that come after sponsorship approval. It's not just about getting the approval, it's about following through on the commitment made to support the sponsored individual. And that's it. With the right preparation and understanding, the journey of Canadian sponsorship undertaking can be a rewarding experience. Thank you for watching.